Ever find yourself lying awake at 3 a.m., your mind's racing with all the things you need to do, should have done, or wish you could change? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And I mean truly not alone. Studies show that about 70% of adults in midlife experience this exact same thing. Midlife brings a unique cocktail of transitions, career shifts, family changes, health concerns, and just the weight of everyday life. But here's the good news. You don't have to live in a constant state of stress. Today, we're diving deep into practical ways to reduce stress and anxiety in midlife because we deserve to feel at peace, not just push through.
Living our best life. It's good to be alive, but it's best to truly live. Let your spirit fly. Celebrate the journey every single day. Aging with grace and style in our own special way.
Welcome to Aging with Grace and Style, the show where we embrace midlife with confidence, purpose, and joy. I'm Valerie, and if this is your first time listening, I am so glad that you're here. And if you've been rocking with me for a while, welcome back. I always appreciate you spending this time with me. This podcast is all about living fully and authentically in the next chapter of life. And today's episode is no exception. Stress and anxiety can feel like constant companions in midlife, but they don't have to control us. Let's talk about real practical ways to lighten the load and to reclaim our peace. Let's be honest. Life in our 40s, 50s, and beyond, it doesn't slow down, does it? If anything, the responsibilities just keep piling up. It sometimes feels like we're juggling torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. You know what I mean? You're managing your career, possibly caring for aging parents, maybe helping adult children navigate their lives, maintaining relationships, and trying to prioritize your own health, all while dealing with hormonal changes that make you feel like you're losing your mind some days. But here's something I want you to hear loud and clear. Stress is not a badge of honor. Overwhelm is not a requirement for success. And anxiety is not something that we just have to deal with. I learned this lesson the hard way, and I'll share that story with you in a minute. Today, we're going beyond just talking about stress. We're going to explore exactly what happens in your body when you're stressed, why it feels so different in midlife, and most importantly, I'm going to give you specific actionable strategies that you can start using today. Not just quick fixes, but real sustainable practices that can change how you experience stress. So let's get into it. Stress isn't new, but something shifts when we hit midlife. Suddenly, we're juggling responsibilities in a way that we never did before. Our parents may be aging and need our support. Our kids are growing up and leaving or have already left the nest, or sometimes coming back. Work might feel more demanding, or maybe we're considering a career change. And let's not forget hormonal changes. Hello, menopause. All of this adds up to a perfect storm of stress that can leave us feeling exhausted, anxious, and even questioning ourselves. Midlife is a unique season filled with both opportunities and challenges, but it also presents new stressors that we may not have encountered before. The combination of physiological, emotional, and lifestyle changes can make stress feel more intense and harder to manage. So let's take a deeper look at why this happens. Let's talk about hormonal shifts. As estrogen and progesterone levels fluctuate, many women experience heightened anxiety, mood swings, and sleep disturbances. I know I do. These hormonal changes affect the brain's ability to regulate stress, making it harder to stay calm in high-pressure situations. Then there's increased responsibilities. At this stage, many of us are juggling many roles, whether it's managing a demanding career, supporting aging parents, guiding adult children, or maintaining a household. The pressures to do it all can leave us feeling stretched way too thin. And next, we have health concerns. Unlike in our younger years, our bodies start demanding more attention. We may be dealing with joint pain, metabolic changes, perimenopause, or unexpected medical diagnosis. These physical stressors, they add another layer of worry to our daily lives. There's identity shifts. Midlife is often a time of reassessment, whether it's career transitions, empty nest syndrome, or just challenging social circles. We may feel a loss of identity or struggle with questions like, what's next for me? Or, am I still relevant? This sense of uncertainty can be a major source of stress. There are cultural expectations and societal pressures. So let's not forget the unrealistic expectations that are placed on women in midlife. We are often told to age gracefully while still being productive, attractive, and engaged in everything. The pressure to meet these expectations can add a subtle but constant weight of stress. So let me share something that changed my whole perspective on midlife. I read an article by a neuropsychologist who specialized in midlife transitions, and she explained something that I thought was totally fascinating. Our brains actually process stress differently in midlife. It's not just that we have more to deal with, though we definitely do. It's that our brain's stress response system is going through its own changes. Here's what actually happens in your body during this time. Your hormonal fluctuations aren't just affecting your mood, they're changing how your brain processes stress signals. Your body's stress hormone, the cortisol, tends to stay elevated longer than it did when we were younger. Your sleep patterns are changing, which affects your body's natural stress recovery system. But here's the empowering part. Understanding these changes gives us the power to work within them, not against them. Remember when I mentioned that I learned about stress the hard way? Well, here's what happened. I remember a time when I felt completely drained, physically, emotionally, and mentally. I was saying yes to everything, trying to be everything to everyone, and slowly losing myself in the process. It took one moment, one exhausting, tear-filled evening, for me to realize that I couldn't keep going like this. And that's when I started making real changes. Now that we understand why stress feels heavier, let's move into how we can start managing it in a way that feels empowering. Remember how I mentioned that 3 a.m. worry session? Well, let's talk about how to use our experience to our advantage. When you feel anxiety building, try this technique. I call it the wisdom check. Ask yourself, have I successfully handled something similar before? Chances are you have. Take a moment to recall how you managed it then and what you learned. This simple practice can help calm your nervous system and activate your problem-solving skills. For me, stress and anxiety shows up in different ways. Sometimes I just shut down and I internalize it. Other times it affects my sleep. Well, according to my husband, I even act out my dreams. If you struggle with sleep too, one thing that's helped me is my weighted blanket. A weighted blanket is designed to provide gentle pressure, almost like a hug, helping to stay calm or helping to calm the nervous system and promote relaxation. So if you haven't tried one, it might be worth looking into if you feel anxiety or stress at night. Okay, I've said a lot, right? Let's make this super practical. I want you to grab a notebook. Yes, right now. I'll wait. Got it? Okay. So let's create your personal stress pattern map. Here's how. Think about the last 3 stress peaks, times when you felt particularly overwhelmed. For instance, write down what was happening externally. What physical symptoms did you notice? What thoughts were running through your head? And what you did that helped, what did you do that didn't help? Now, look for patterns. You might be surprised to find that your body's been trying to warn you about stress long before you consciously recognize it. One of my listeners, Janet, did this exercise, and she realized that she always got a tight neck like 3 days before hitting her stress peak. Now she uses that physical signal as a warning system to implement her stress management techniques before things get overwhelming. Now, let's talk about something that many of us struggle with, and that's boundaries. You know what I mean? That uncomfortable moment when you need to say no, but yes, just slips out instead. Or when you find yourself resentfully doing something that you really don't have the energy for. Let me share something that revolutionized how I think about boundaries. Instead of seeing them as walls that keep people out, I think of them as banks of a river. They don't stop the flow. They give it a different direction and purpose. Without banks, a river becomes a flood. Without boundaries, our energy and time becomes chaos. Managing multiple responsibilities isn't just about time management. It's about emotional energy. Here's a practical exercise that I want you to try. Draw 3 circles on a piece of paper. Label them must do, want to do, and can wait. Now, look at everything that's demanding your attention and sort them into these circles. This visual reminder, it helps you prioritize without feeling guilty. Now let's add another twist to this. Grab that notebook again. Draw your 3 circles again. Remember, must do, want to do, and can wait. So before you write anything else, put my well-being in the must do circle. Now, for everything else that you're dealing with, ask yourself 3 questions. Does this align with my values? Does this serve my current life goals? Is this something that only I can do? Here's a real example from my life. Last month, I was asked to head a committee. It was for a great cause, real important work. But when I ran through these questions, I realized that while it did align with my values, it didn't serve my current goals of building this podcast community, of spending more time with my family. Plus, there were other capable people who could lead it. So I offered to consult instead of lead, a boundary that served everyone. I once heard a story about a woman who used this technique and realized that she was saying yes to organizing her daughter's house move while postponing her own medical checkups. We do stuff like that. Remember, putting yourself in the must-do circle, it isn't selfish. It's really necessary. So let's finish this segment by talking about the language of boundaries, because this is where many of us get stuck. Here's some phrases that have worked for me and my listeners. Instead of a flat no, try, I've looked at my commitments and I can't give this the attention it deserves. Or that sounds wonderful. While I can't take it on, I'd be happy to share some resources that might help. Or here's another. I need to pause before answering. Can I get back with you tomorrow? Remember, you're not just saying no to something. You're saying yes to your peace of mind and your well-being. If you're struggling with saying no, check out my recent episode. I think it's number 85, and it's entitled Stop People Pleasing, Discover the Freedom of Saying No. That'll help you with your ability to say no. But stress isn't just about what's on our plates. It's also about how our bodies respond to it. So let's dive deeper into how our bodies and our minds work together in midlife, because this connection is fascinating and it's so important to understand. You know those days when you feel like you're just moving through fog? Everything seems harder than it should be. There's actually a scientific reason for this. When we're stressed, our bodies release what's called cortisol, which is normal and necessary. But in midlife, especially during perimenopause and menopause, our cortisol patterns, they can get disrupted. This isn't just about feeling stress. It can affect everything from our sleep to our memory to our metabolism. So here's some ways that I personally combat stress. One is working out. Movement helps me release built up tension and it boosts my mood. When I really, really need to release tension, I put on my boxing gloves and I punch the heck out of my bag. Listening to music, whether it's feel-good dance playlist or calming instrumentals or a gospel playlist to remind me of the goodness of God. Music shifts my energy. And there's meditation, taking even 5 minutes just to sit quietly and breathe. It makes a difference. Try this. Next time you feel overwhelmed, do what I call a 90-second reset. And here's what you're going to do. 30 seconds of deep breathing, 30 seconds of shoulder rolls and gentle stretching. And then 30 seconds of focusing on something that's beautiful in your surroundings. It could be a photo or a little trinket that brings you joy and calm. This helps regulate your cortisol levels and it brings you back to the present moment. Now let's talk about daily habits and creating a sustainable stress management practice. Because here's the truth. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about finding what works for you and making it so simple that you can't talk yourself out of it. Here are my daily non-negotiables for stress management. Now, you can use them or you find your own. It's just to give you an idea of what I do. I have my morning me time. I'm going to admit it. I am not, ask my husband, big on conversation in the mornings. I need my quiet and alone time. I spend my time reading, meditating, planning my day, etc. If it's a day when I'm going to the office, then my me time is in the car. But whatever it is, even if it's just 10 minutes with your coffee before everyone needs you, this time helps to set the tone for the day. And then movement that brings you joy. Forget about what you should do and do what feels good. This doesn't have to be a full-blown workout. Some days I hop on my treadmill and I walk maybe about 10 minutes at a slow pace. I may be watching the news. I may be listening to music, or I may be thinking through my day. It's part of what gets my day started. Or if I'm not on the treadmill, I might turn on music and have myself a little dance party to start my day. Or I may do some yoga poses. But as you can see, there are plenty of things you can do. It's whatever is going to fit in your schedule. Think of stress management like building a strong foundation. If you take the time to reinforce it every day, with simple, meaningful habits, it becomes much harder for stress to shake you. It's not about perfection, but about creating small, consistent routines that help you feel more grounded. Now, there is no guarantee that you will have stress-free days every day. That is not reality. Heck, I sometimes have a string of stressful days. But when I recognize what's going on, I try to reel it in or at least manage it. That's what it's about. It's about managing the stress. Your action items for this week are, number 1, try the wisdom check next time that anxiety strikes. In case you don't remember, the wisdom check is asking yourself, have I successfully handled something similar before? Your other assignment is to draw your 3 circles and start sorting your commitments. There's the must do, the want to do, and the can wait. And then there's the practice the 90 set reset at least once a day. And that's your 30 seconds of deep breathing, 30 seconds of shoulder rolls and gentle stretching, and 30 seconds of focusing on something that's beautiful in your surroundings, a photo or trinket or whatever brings you joy. Now I want to leave you with this. Stress is a part of life, but it doesn't have to control your life. You have the tools, the wisdom, and the experience to navigate it in a way that serves you. Remember, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. Every stressful situation that you've already handled has taught you something valuable. Now it's time to use that wisdom to create more peace in your life. It's about making small shifts, whether it's recognizing patterns, setting boundaries, or finding ways to reset when things just feel overwhelming. So take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you are capable and you know that you are not alone in this journey. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, share your thoughts, or connect with me on social media. And if you found this helpful, then consider sharing it with a friend who might need this encouragement too. Until next time, keep setting those boundaries, taking care of yourself, and embracing this season of life with grace, style, and always a touch of sass. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you loved this episode, do me a favor. Share it with a friend and leave a quick review. It's a small thing that makes a big difference. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And hey, let's keep the conversation going. Join me at pod.agingwithgraceandstyle.com for more tips, stories, and a whole lot of connection. Until next time, keep shining with grace, style, and a touch of sass.